And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another installment of my ongoing weekly series, Valiant to the Last. This is the series where I drop one episode every single Monday and I have done for over a year now. In a way, this is a placeholder series to keep my channel ticking over for the short periods where I don't have any kind of other content to fill things in. But as such, it keeps the channel going, and what I've been doing in this series is reviewing every single Valiant Comics Deluxe Edition released since 2012 in roughly, as far as I can work out, kind of a chronological or sensible order. As well as that, I'm also reviewing the various series that haven't been collected. That wasn't the initial plan, but that's kind of what this turned into. I just can't help myself. And so, as such, today we are looking at the relatively standalone series Armorclads. Armorclads is a five-issue miniseries that came out from Valiant in 2022. The first issue came out in 2022, the last issue came out at the end of 2022. So it's a self-contained five-issue miniseries written by someone called J.J. O'Connor. I have no idea who that is. And Brian Buccellato, who has written quite a lot of DC stuff that I like. It's got art from Manuel Garcia and Miguel Sepulveda, both of whom I quite like and are good artists. And the story itself is essentially it's basically it was pitched as this is a bold new corner of the Valiant universe, and I was reading it and I was like, this feels like it's a total non sequitur. Like this is completely unrelated to the rest of Valiant, in much the same way as the series Savage, which I talked about a few weeks ago, is. So I was slightly wrong in that. I'll explain that in a second. But the idea behind this is it's about it's actually a really kind of seen it a million times before, kind of civil war, the slaves are rising up against the unfair oppressors, blah 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 kind of story. I mean, ultimately it's about mech pilots. So the various people that we see are the people that are in these kind of like labor mechs that basically just drill and dig stuff, etc., etc. And they're born and genetically engineered and created purely so they can be mech pilots. And as such, they're kind of like a working underclass for an upper class that oppresses them and treats them really badly and expects them to die early and has them living in poverty and so on. So yes, it's a thinly veiled allegory for modern society. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be done incredibly well. This is not done incredibly well. This is a five-issue series, so not much of the characters get any time to breathe or to become fully fleshed out or characterized in any way. What you have are the mech pilots on the ground floor at the coalface. So these are the working class oppressed victims, and then one of them basically is kind of the chosen one, and lots of them decide to rise up and fight their oppressors, and they win, and they take it to the oppressor's capital city and help destroy that and win. And it's, I mean, this sounds like spoilers. I guess it is, but I mean, genuinely, if I said to you, this is a story about an oppressed underclass like fighting against an oppressive regime. These are all the same plot points that you'd expect. There's kind of a love interest stroke romantic interest. The main character is one of the underclass who turns out to kind of be the chosen one. Um, they fight and win against a massively numerically and technically superior upper class or ruling class. It's all just kind of by the numbers. There are two things about this that I would point out that are, well, just worth noting. The first thing is one of the premises of this, as part of the wider mythos is building up here, is that the ruling class or the elite are trying to track down something called the God suits, which, if you can imagine, they're suits of armor, so armor-clad armor, which is incredibly powerful, like God level powerful. That in and of itself isn't a bad idea. Like, that could be fun. What feels stupid is having that in the Valiant universe, because in the Valiant universe, surely if you're looking at godlike powered suits of armor, you're looking at Exo Manowar armor, which we've seen there's quite a few of in the universe. So surely it would make more sense for them to be hunting down Exo Manowar type armor rather than them to be hunting down what appears to be, not, if not man-made, they're not humans, but they look like humans. If not man-made, but just kind of like normal, conventionally made armor. Like, it just feels like we're just adding more to the Valiant universe for no real reason. In a way, and this is going to sound weird, it kind of reminds me of what I thought of it about the Ninjak comics, where they introduce like more and more monk characters as like uber powerful godlike characters pulling strings from behind the scenes. Obviously, you've got the bleeding monk, then you have the burning monk, then you have the undead monk. It's like, really, couldn't these all just be one monk? I talked about this in my Ninjak video, and similarly here in Armorclads, it's like, oh, you have this like far off race of aliens who all look and act very human on an alien planet way out somewhere else on a different solar system, and they're after these incredibly powerful suits of armor. Do there have to be other incredibly powerful suits of armor in the universe? Can't it just be like tied in with the Manowar stuff? But I started to get over that, and I was like, look, this is clearly an entirely different thing. This is clearly not part of the Valiant continuity. This will feature what I would consider the out of continuity part of my Valiant reading map when I get to that, of which there isn't really very much. There's literally only Savage. The only other thing which is nominally perhaps out of continuity is the series Britannia, which I reviewed the oversized hardcover for that. And the reason I say that's kind of out of continuity, but maybe not, is because it does make some references to the dead side. And so I'm tempted to make Britannia maybe part of the wider Valiant universe. I think that could be argued. The reason I mention that, I'm not just meandering, is because the very last 2 pages of Armorclad's issue 5 suddenly has a direct and explicit reference to events happening on Earth in the Valiant universe. In fact, specifically referencing the character Tama, the Geomancer, who we've seen in the Eternal Warrior comics that we've been reading. So all of a sudden, even though 4 issues and 21 pages of this have nothing to do with the Valiant universe, right at the end they have this arbitrary, like, epilogue postscript type thing, which suddenly means that, oh, it's part of the Valiant universe. And I'm kind of like, what? Why? Why is that the case? I mean, it makes it explicitly part of the Valiant universe, but frankly, I'm not keen on that. I think that it's so arbitrary, and it feels like it was an editorial decision mandated down by DMG Entertainment, who had taken over Valiant by this stage. Obviously, this is a very recent comic, and so in my mind, this is about as linked to the Valiant universe as Britannia is. It has a nominal nod to other stuff we know from the Valiant universe, but frankly, come on, it's token. It's token at best. So as far as I'm concerned, Armorclad is out of continuity. The last 2 pages, yes, they say to be continued. It will involve the Geomancer, etc., etc. I don't see that ever happening because by the time this video comes up, I imagine Valiant have quite likely gone bankrupt or announced some sorts of problems. So there's all sorts of sketchy stuff happening there, unfortunately, which wasn't the case when I started doing this video series. So yeah, just so you know, Armorclads is a general, reasonably mediocre, reasonably average story about slaves rebelling and overthrowing their masters. Um, it just feels like a bit of redundancy in terms of, oh, hey, we've got these god power suits, but they're not Manowar suits. And then also it has this absolutely token thing trying to tie it into the wider Valiant universe by referencing the Geomancer. If you've ever seen the movie Glass by M. Night Shyamalan, and you consider the last sort of 15 seconds of that, it's that much of a tacked on tiny thing at the end that tries to pull this into a larger narrative. So there we are, Armorclad Volume 1. Issues 1 to 5. Have you read it? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. What I will say is that for our homework for next time, I want to continue reading a relatively recent kind of feel of stuff. And so as such, I've decided to read The Visitor, which is a 5 or 6 issue miniseries. Also came out in around about 2022. I am conscious The Visitor is, as a character, is name dropped in the Book of Death in one passing panel at one point, but I suspect that other than that very, very token and tenuous link, it is going to be a standalone series. But hey, maybe I'm going to be wrong. So that's our homework for next time, The Visitor by Valiant Entertainment. I'll see everyone then. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.